Well arrived, everyone. Today you're tuned in to Profession Saturday. What we're going over today is the rework, the revamp, the retooling of the Professions system in Dragonflight in 10.0. I'm very happy that this change is going to come through because I always lamented the fact that Professions have gotten weaker and weaker, duller and duller, more and more soulless over time. We went from Professions having some best in slot, very powerful gear in vanilla, following up with Burning Crusade, perhaps even more powerful item from crafting. In Wrath of the Lich King we still had some decent items from the crafting system, but after that the crafting system became very, very uninspiring. You know, by the time we got into Warlords we already had this depressing system where you learn everything you can from your trainer. You can basically stay in your garrison and craft whatever you want. Over time, this crafted system got really, really boring, really, really dull. I was particularly saddened by this system because I thought this was a great way to make the open world more interesting. As you know, Blizzard always comes up with some high quality raids, high quality Mythic Plus. Those are still great activities. The problem, recently at the very least, has been the glue that sticks everything together, which is the open world, which is you just mulling around the open world, doing daily quests, world quests, reputations, grinding and whatnot. That's what has let down the game for quite a while. So the notion that we're getting some revamp and some rework in this profession activity might be very good for Dragonflight, because it might give some more spark to the open world, to what you want to do in the open world. Now, the reason why we're talking about Professions today is because we have gotten a Q&A from some of the developers in the, guess where, the Community Council. That's right. Remember a few months ago the creation of this new forum space for direct questions and dialogue with the developers? Well, yeah, it is still alive. It is still alive, and it has produced some interesting questions for the developers about this profession system. So before we go into these questions, reminder to everyone that the new profession overhaul in Dragonflight includes this new UI system, where a lot of the new interest is going to be in the fact that crafting is now going to be having quality attached to it. 1 to 5 layers of quality. More importantly, for the gear. Your gear will now be able to wiggle between 10 item levels. From quality 1, the lower quality, to the quality 5, you will be able to jump between 10 item levels of quality. It will depend on the reagents, the materials you're using, and some of your crafting stats. That's right, the other new thing is the crafting stats, because what's gonna come in 10.0 is going to be profession-specific gear. This is going to be just like another equip loadout for your character. It's not going to be taking, luckily, thank God, it's not going to be taking space in your inventory. You will not have to min-max and juggle these items in your bags. They're going to be automatically stored in your character, and they're going to be automatically equipped whenever you are doing anything related to that profession. So if you're an alchemist and an herbalist, whenever you are picking up herbs or crafting a flask, you're going to automatically equip these pieces. What is special about these pieces isn't just the roleplay element of it, but is also the fact that they're going to have stats, crafting stats on them. For example, things like crafting skill, things like inspiration, and things like resourcefulness are going to be crafting related stats, which will give you a higher chance of getting successful crafts of higher quality items that you are trying to craft. So those two are already some very special new features for the profession system. We also know that this new profession system is going to have profession specializations. That's right, the good old blacksmith turning into an armorsmith or a weaponsmith, becoming an elixir master, a potion master, if you are an alchemist, for example, all these different options. Specialization points which will be earned by doing most open world content. Now, we don't know if you will be able to earn them also by doing instance content like Raid and Mythic Plus, for example, or PvP, but the examples that were given to be able to earn these spec points for your crafting professions were things like quests, daily quests, world quests, finding rare NPCs hidden somewhere, completing some special events, or finding treasures. So most of the stuff was directing us towards being in the open world. which is great. It makes the open world much more meaningful in Dragonflight with this new system. Lastly, the last new thing before we go into the Q&A was the crafting orders. And the crafting order will allow you to directly ask, to directly put in this crafting order auction house, basically, orders for something you want crafted for you. The very important thing about crafting orders is that they will be able to be used to bypass the soulbound restriction to items. So if you have a blacksmith which can craft a chest piece that is soulbound on craft, you can request a blacksmith to craft that for you with the crafting orders, and you will be able to receive that item which would have been previously soulbound to the crafter. That is going to be one of the pretty powerful features of the crafting orders. So talking about the Q&A, talking about the new things we have discovered, one thing I want to say first that is going to be very very relieving for many players is that the devs are making sure to point out that this improvement in the quality system of the crafting, this getting better at crafting things in Dragonflight will not be tied to just spamming the same recipe over and over and over, just like you had to do with the ranks, for example, of the legendary recipes in Shadowlands. So you will not have to have a massive gold sink to be able to learn up, to skill up the ranks of your recipes like we had in this expansion. Instead, they will be tied to more interesting activities. The goal, as pointed out, is that the pursuit of profession progression is through compelling and fun activities rather than spending lots of gold over time, which is a good start, a great start as far as profession overalls go. It was quite boring to go through that system in Shadowlands as professions. Another point that was expanded on in this answers from the devs was the fact that items will actually crafted items are planned to be able to compete with the top end gear from other sources, and in some cases also be considered best in slot. They want to reinforce, they want to point out, to underline that one of the points of this system, one of the goals of this system is to enable crafted gear to become much more relevant to the game, to become a much more inclusive part of your activities in game. Since, as they point out, in order to get all this nice shiny gear crafted for yourself, you will have yourself to go out and earn special soulbound reagents to be able to provide to the crafter if you're trying, for example, to use the crafting order systems. So you will still have to interact, to interface with this crafting system yourself. You can't just have 6 million gold and simply buy everything with this new crafted system and benefit from it. It's actually used to make you more into the activities in the game itself. Now, the other point that quite a few players were worried about is what about the grindiness? What about the grind level of this system? Because if you're putting crafted items that might even be best in slot in the game, and there isn't even a lockout, there isn't even a limit to only one item equipped anymore, how grindy is this going to be? How long will you have to run around to gather all the different resources to get your top gear available for you? The point is they are trying to have crafted gear feel like something that you are earning at a satisfying rate alongside your other gear sources. The other example was saying that if you're a normal raider, your normal raid is going to provide you with reagents to allow you to craft a limited amount of normal raid pieces, while if you are a heroic raider, it's gonna get a little bit harder. Perhaps you might start to jump into extra activities to get more rewards and more reagents for your heroic pieces, and then of course the mythic version is going to become even harder. So it should go hand in hand with the level of difficulty, the level of challenge and competitiveness you are trying to achieve in the game, okay? Just because there is a new crafting system and just because there are possible super high and powerful best in slot pieces, it doesn't mean that an LFR raider who does a handful of daily quests every day still will be able to deck himself up to full mythic crafted gear for basically free. It will still be in line with the difficulty, with the challenge, okay, depending on the difficulty levels you are playing in the game. Lastly, this is something that wasn't even a Q&A, this was a spontaneous addition from the devs, which was the point about recrafting. And what recrafting is going to allow you to do is to literally retake that item that you crafted previously and try to recraft it once you have increased the skill level of your profession, once you are better geared in your profession gear items, or you have more spec points to make the crafting better, so that, for example, an initial item you crafted at quality 1, 325 item level, 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, you can now recraft it at quality 5 and 335 item level. So this recrafting is also going to be much cheaper, right? It's going to require you only a portion of the initial cost of the item for you to recraft and increase the item level, just like you increased over time the skill of your profession, which is going to be quite satisfying. It's going to remove a lot of this FOMO, a lot of this fear of missing out, where you want to immediately craft the best pieces possible. In this case, on the other hand, you can craft a lower quality piece, a quality 1, a quality 2 item over time, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, when you increase your profession skill level, you will be able to retake those items and upgrade them by yourself. It is a pretty decent, a pretty good fail-safe system, where if you have been unlucky, for example, you rushed a quality 1 craft, and then a couple of weeks later you have been unlucky with gear, for example, but now your quality is higher, you haven't gotten any of those pants dropping, but you can still go back to that pants you crafted at quality 1 and upgrade them at quality 5, for example. So the recrafting is just an extra good system for you to allow to be much more versatile, much more malleable in the way you can handle your itemization, your gearing up system. Not only that, but as a final point, they are also hinting and nodding towards the fact that the optional reagents that you can use for the crafting system in Dragonflight will likely also be able to have the equivalent of the missive system. So it likely won't be this predatory system where you craft an item and you randomly get mastery and haste. So you don't want mastery and haste, so you have to recraft it. You have to use the recrafting system to try to get the proper stats for yourself. Instead, it's much more likely that the system is going to have missives to be able to just give you the secondary stats you want without having to play the RNG roulette for the crafting in Dragonflight. These were the new tidbits, the new addition we have seen in the past few days regarding the profession system. I am actually pretty excited about this. I have always been a little bit sad about how profession ended up being in these past few expansions, how it has been mistreated, and I always thought it could be a really good addition to the open world and to make the game much more inclusive, much more atmospheric and immersive if you actually could work towards your profession level, your profession skill, your profession rank in the open world as an extra activity. So I'm pretty happy that so far, at least, it looks like it's going quite well. Of course, we are still eagerly waiting the alpha of this new expansion to see just how and what they have planned for professions. But for now, we can stop here for this Saturday. So thank you again, of course, for watching the video and for helping to grow the channel. You can do more by liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel. But for today only, given that it's a profession-themed video, everyone who actually hates the way the current professions work can stop by the subscribe button. Now, with this being said, thank you guys again, see you guys soon, and in the meantime, I am sorry for dissing the clouds yesterday. They actually were useful. It actually did end up raining and still is hours later. So I'm sorry, okay? I was just joking.